Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new elite family of woods and irons from Callaway.
This morning marked the debut of 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, hosted by our good friend Gary Williams, a continuation of the 5 Clubs podcast that began in 2021. Now, the show will air on Monday through Wednesday at 8 a.m. and is based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, for his debut here on the network, Gary was joined by world number 1, Nelly Korda.
If you look back, which I hope you've had time to do it, is there a moment that you think was the most rewarding moment for you in 2024?
I just think the year in general was super rewarding. There's so many lessons that were learned in that year when it came to, good golf. There was a mix of bad golf too. I became an auntie. Just the 2024 year in general, it was definitely a learning year. Also being put in maybe a little bit of a different spotlight as well. I just thought it was just a really fun year, a year that I learned a lot about myself, and then obviously can't forget about the good golf that was played as well.
You mentioned the spotlight, and look, a lot of people look at the lives of people who have public personas, and there's envy, there's admiration, but there's something that you sacrifice the more you achieve, and that is anonymity. How have you managed a life that has evolved to one that is very public?
Yeah, I think it's just mainly the people around you, the people that you surround yourself with. What I've learned in 2024 is that you just can't conform to what people want you to be. You have to be who you want to be, and at the end of the day, that's how you're going to thrive and be the best version of yourself. So having people around you that know who you are and that kind of take you away from that life, that recharge your batteries, was super important for me. And I have an amazing family. I have an amazing support system. I have an amazing team, and I'm so, so grateful for them.
So great to welcome back to Golf Channel our friend and colleague, Gary Williams. Gary, for a lot of folks this morning, it was Old Home Week. How did show number 1 go for you today?
Damon, first of all, it's great to be with you. It went well. The building didn't burn down. I didn't run out thinking I can't do this anymore. It was a treat. Damon, I said it on the air. There's nothing more exhilarating, as you know, because you and I, luckily for me, spent a lot of days, a lot of months, a lot of years doing programming together. There's nothing more exhilarating than that light going on, and to see it come on again was humbling. And the amount of gratitude that I have to be able to do this again in this modest way is immeasurable.
Gary, you love this game. You love asking questions of the movers and shakers. I thought I might be guest number 1, but it turned out you went after the world number 1, Nelly Korda. Why was that an important target for you for show number 1?
Damon, when we knew this was going to happen, I said to myself, she's got to be number 1. I find the position she's in to be very uncommon. And I think that it is not easy to accept kind of the role of being the face of anything. And I'm not saying there's an easy acceptance on Nelly's part to being the face of women's golf, but I think right now, and you're an enormous fan and you've covered everything, there is a wave of momentum that we're seeing across the platform of women's sports right now that is unprecedented. And she's right in the middle of it. And the fact that she spent time late in 2024 with Caitlin Clark, I think that it is going to be particularly interesting to see not only the way that she performs, but to see her move into spaces that are resigned for things that are more culturally relevant. We saw her do the SI swimsuit issue. We saw her at the Met Gala. These are things that are reserved for people who suddenly have cultural relevancy. And she possesses that now, and that was why I thought it was important to start with her.
And you really got her to open up on things that are in some ways difficult to talk about when you are an introvert like Nelly Korda. And I'm fascinated, Gary. You've done so many different aspects of media, whether it's radio or podcasting or television. What do you want out of 5 Clubs on linear television?
You know what, Damon, I want it to feel personal because you just mentioned those 2 other platforms. Look, my career was built on the radio medium. I love it. I still do. You can hear 5 Clubs on the radio side as well on Sirius XM. And I've always felt that that medium and learning about podcasting and learning about the digital platform, there's an elasticity associated with those platforms that I think can be applied modestly on the linear television side. And I think that if we can do that, most importantly, by building a community of people who talk about golf, play golf, invest in golf in various ways. And I have great admiration for people like Scott Van Pelt, who's going to be on the program tomorrow. When people watch his show at night, I feel like they're tuning into something. It's like, I've got a seat there. I'm welcome there. And I want people like yourself, people who cover the game, people who play the game, people who administer the game, to feel like I'm going to take the time to watch this show, because over the course of time, they're going to talk about the things that I care about, and it's going to be personal. And that's the ambition.
You've invested so much of your entire life into the game, played the game growing up with your dad. You've taught, been on the lesson tee, given back. State of the game in 2025, a lot of people are disillusioned by what's happened at the top reaches of the game. Where do you see professional golf in particular as we start this new year?
I think it's in a precarious place, and I'll talk more specifically about the men's side. I think it's very difficult, and it's also very dangerous when you struggle with what your identity is. And I think that men's professional golf has occupied a very affluent, but yet very narrow space in the public consciousness. And I think that the money, and I don't begrudge anybody for getting as much as you can, but there is a fine line between leveraging something and executing greed. And I think that we're at that point. And I think that if they don't look around at the overall landscape of sports and the consumption level of people and what it is of their product right now, that they're going to hurtle more toward a place that's not irrevocable, but it is dangerous. It's precarious. And I saw this, this. Tennis saw fracturing a couple of decades ago. Open wheel racing, the same thing. And I don't profess to be an expert, but I had to cover it modestly. And it never really recovered from that. And I think that men's professional golf right now needs to understand that occupying the space more time together is paramount as we go into 2026 and beyond.
One thing you said this morning on Five Clubs was that you wouldn't only be talking about the professional game. To that end, what type of guests will you have upcoming? I know you mentioned Scott Van Pelt, for example.
Yeah, you know what, Damon, I think when I look around at this ecosystem, this industry of golf, we have people, and that's one of the most rewarding things about what the last 3.5 years have been like for me, understanding digital space. We've seen a proliferation of content creators. We now have a content creating council. I think that's what it's called for the PGA Tour. You and I probably never envisioned that was going to be the case. These people are producing worthwhile content that people devote real time to consuming. And I want all of those people to feel like the space on Five Clubs is welcoming for them. You know how much I value the written word. You built your career on writing about things. And I'm going to have a segment called Writer's Block. The block is going to be devoted to people who write the words that tell those stories. I want people who design golf courses to be on this program. Gil Hance, who's a regular contributor to Five Clubs, is going to be on with us on a regular basis.
Gary, it's great to have you back. It's great to catch up with you, and we'll speak again soon.